Welcome to Charts View presentation. In this presentation I want to talk about gaps for support and resistance. Basically showing you how effective gaps are when you spot one and how they always become resistance or support. For example, there's a gap here, gapped, but as you can see, once a gap, price kept going to it but not going through it. That becomes nice little resistance. This happens most of the times I've seen it on charts. Whenever you see a gap, it always has an impact. Price gapped up, price could eventually come back to fill it, but as you can see from there, it went through it but the gap held it. That's not a great example, but I'll show you more. Go back. Wherever you see gaps, they always form resistance. Here's another gap here. Price gap down, but when it came up to it, it sort of hesitated, it's all finished above it. But if you look at all along here, it shows clearly that that gap is playing do something. Same thing here, gap down. As you can see, the price has always been held around that area. If you go further up, price gap down there. Again, it has an impact. If you go through, look for more gaps. There's a gap here, look, right there. I'll draw the effects of this gap. Price went up to it later on, held, go back up to it, held, try to go up to it, struggling to get past that gap resistance, struggling, and hence it's still struggling. Now if we go further back, there's another gap here which obviously hasn't played a part yet but may do in the future. That gap here I'm on about. If you go further back, look what gap, what gaps do. Again, price gap down here, but as you can see along here, it keeps struggling. Whenever it comes to that, fill the gap, it always struggles. Another example is here, gap here. Gap down here, went down, back up, the whole gap area is resistance now, back down it went, on the way back up it's just struggling, just doesn't seem to get past it, and that gap was pure resistance and send the price right back down. Again, if you go back in time, I'll go a bit further back, gap here, that's support now. Gapped up, so you take the bottom of it. As the price come down, look where it went up to, the gap. Pushed it back up, then eventually pushes through, nullifies it. Same here, if I go back further. Gap there, gapped up, went up, flew further, come back down. Eventually as it approaches it, it's finding support there, look. Went to its support, went through finally, but now that becomes resistance. When support gets taken out, it becomes resistance. Hence that gap. Gaps are a great place to place trades at. I could keep showing you more examples of gaps. There's so many of them. But I hope this little video would help you in understanding the relevance of gaps and how they form good support levels and resistance levels. For more interesting videos on technicals, go to www.chartsview.co.uk. End of presentation. Thank you.